Roman Reigns opens SmackDown with Paul Heyman. And I've got to say, Roman looks like an additional layer of badass than he has previously. I really like how he just doesn't get involved in things until it's time for him to win. He's joined by Jey Uso, who is introduced by Paul Heyman, which is always a good thing for anyone who wants to do well in their career. Just be introduced by Paul Heyman, everyone will think you're a massive deal, because that man can really put people over. They are interrupted by Baron Corbin and Sheamus, who I'm pretty sure had a feud starting a couple of weeks ago, but not anymore. Nowadays they're friends for the sake of this tag team. This results in a tag team main event match between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns against Sheamus and Baron Corbin. Sheamus and Baron Corbin get battered. They get destroyed. They are defeated essentially by Jey Uso on his own. However, Roman Reigns arriving late, as is the fashion nowadays, because who wants to turn up to a party on time, particularly a Lucha house party, more on that later. We have Roman Reigns turn up, tag in very late in the day, hit one spear and win the match, holding his championship aloft in front of Jey Uso in case Jey Uso wants it. This is a good new gimmick for Roman, just not turning up when he's supposed to. It does evoke some memories of The Rock turning up very late at SummerSlam 2000 when it was Triple H versus Kurt Angle. It was supposed to be a triple threat, but The Rock just left it until Kurt Angle was already heavily concussed. Heavily concussed. Good times. Good times. Not good times. Not good times. I never want to see a repeat of those times. But you get what I'm saying. The fact that Roman arrives late is tremendous, and it really shows how separate and independent he is of who he was before. As an aside to this, Baron Corbin wears suits now, and long may that continue. Our first match is an Intercontinental Championship matchup between AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy. Note that Sami Zayn is not involved, and before the break he forces the show to go to break. He tries to interrupt at the beginning, but is held back by Adam Pearce wearing probably the best smoking jacket I've ever seen. I love a good purple smoking jacket, and no, I don't know why. He is removed from, I want to say the arena, but not really, because after a few minutes of intense action in which Jeff Hardy misses most of his top moves, Sami Zayn does get involved, attacking both men and preventing the match from continuing. Right afterwards, Jeff Hardy, who is apparently dehydrated, is unable to continue. He stumbles his way up the ramp. He looks rough, looks like a bit of a jab at what has been happening with his brother in AEW. As part of my live tweeting for the night, I did put up a poll asking my followers who their Intercontinental Champion was. I have the results right here. Sami Zayn at 51%, over Jeff Hardy at 33%, and AJ Styles at 16%. So Sami Zayn, definitely the Intercontinental Champion, and a heel to win that bout. Interesting. Very much looks like a triple threat coming up soon. I suspect Sami Zayn will retain and go into a feud with Matt Riddle. Following that, we have Cesaro and Nakamura against the Lucha House Party. The Street Profits are there to celebrate the fact that they will have a match soon. They are left in the Champions Lounge by Nakamura and Cesaro, at which point they indulge in the festivities. A party breaks out. This apparently distracts Cesaro and Nakamura for a long time because somebody thinks to put it on the big screen. Chad Gable and Matt Riddle are both there celebrating. I could swear there was a feud there, but apparently not. Either way, Cesaro and Nakamura lose, which means we can be fairly certain they're winning on Monday on Raw against the Street Profits. For the draw segment straddling the first and second hours, we have Bayley coming down to celebrate the fact that she is now independent, and she really details the storyline with her and Sasha Banks in that one of them was always going to betray the other. It's pretty historically been Sasha Banks. Today, or at least last week, it was Bayley, which is at least a change of pace. I've got to say, these are the moments where I really miss the live crowd, because I think Bayley would have got the same response that Tommaso Ciampa did all those years ago. I say all those years, it may have been 2, I think it was 2, when he walked down to massive swears from the crowd and no entrance music. I miss those days. Good promo from Bayley. Even a year ago, I don't think she could have delivered something this compelling, but that moment has definitely come. This is followed by a fatal 4-way to determine the next challenger for Bayley's SmackDown Women's Championship. This match contains Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss, Lacey Evans and Tamina, and it is roughly the same way they decided her last challenger and almost every challenger on the SmackDown brand going back to 2016. They like their multi-woman matches. Early on, Nikki Cross is taken out by a chair to the back. Later on, Nikki Cross is taken out by a very smooth Sister Abigail from Alexa Bliss, who walks off in a trance. And then later on, Nikki Cross ends up winning the match after defying both of those odds, which, if you've seen the match, is definitely the right call. Nikki Cross will challenge Bayley at Clash of Champions. There were heavy rumours that Naomi would be getting a championship push, or at least a push of some sort. That does not seem to have happened. My opinion leading into this was that Mandy Rose, after a big win at SummerSlam, would be heading into the championship picture, but she has been moved to Raw. Explanation for that coming very shortly. If you like these videos and the consistency with which I put them out, please do remember to click subscribe, like the video, because that helps me grow and that helps more people watch them. We have a vignette for the mystery woman who is re-debuting on SmackDown. It's pretty clearly Carmella. We have a match between Otis and John Morrison. The Miz tries to steal the Money in the Bank contract, but this time, after last week when it was hidden outside of the briefcase, this week it is hidden inside the briefcase, inside a lunchbox. This is actually quite subtle and endearing character development and storytelling. It is a next step for The Miz, who does say that he is trying to find loopholes in the contract to get hold of it himself. I don't fancy The Miz's chances against Roman any more than I fancy Otis's chances against Roman. However, he does make a phone call, and we have learned since that because of that phone call, Mandy Rose has been moved to WWE Raw away from Otis. That's very interesting, because it sure looks like they've abandoned one of their most popular storylines overnight. Next up is the Firefly Funhouse segment, where Bray Wyatt does introduce Wobbly Walrus, clearly a send-up of Paul Heyman. Alexa Bliss does not feature here, but I suspect she will be featuring more in the coming weeks. And as a result of this, there is a number of things that was really going to excite meme culture. We see the return of Mr. Mcboss Man. We see obviously Wobbly Walrus, but we also see, in what seems like a clear send-up to the dirt sheets, underneath Bray, the tagline, "The less you know." That pitch is going very, very far. The most interesting thing here for me is seeing the Mr. Mcboss Man puppet stating that he no longer has faith in Bray Wyatt to run the Firefly Funhouse. There is a Wobbly Walrus who is now in charge of the Funhouse. Interesting, given the namesake, or I don't say the namesake, but the send-up that it is for the Wobbly Walrus was recently relieved of his duties on Raw. Our main event is Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, as I have mentioned earlier. I find it very interesting that after feuding with Baron Corbin from October until the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns, after being out for 7 months, returns and immediately drops back into a match with Baron Corbin. The match, as I've explained earlier, is very interesting as regards Jey Uso, who does manage to pick up essentially the win over both men, but is interrupted by Roman Reigns finally arriving. I can't imagine he's going to be too happy with that situation. Going forwards, this does add an extra layer of intrigue to their championship match, in what at least looks like it's going to be the first time that Roman Reigns has wrestled a full match in more than half a year, if in fact he turns up on time. He might just not turn up, who can tell with this current Roman. It is a very different story and a very interesting one. SmackDown seems to have all of the interesting storylines at the moment. SmackDown this week was not to the same high standard as the 2 weeks before, but when you exhaust major storylines like the return of Roman Reigns and Sasha Banks versus Bayley, it's hard to keep up that same level of delivery. When you sort of write those two particular things off, it really did deliver to the same degree. I would consider this a very good SmackDown. I think it delivered in all of the key components, as well as really driving home storylines that have been major moments in the making, particularly the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship, which has taken a long time to reach fruition, and of course Roman Reigns, his return and what he has delivered since he has. There has been subtle, at least, storyline and character development for everything. The only real problem going forward is that quite a lot of the matches that look to be taking place at Clash of Champions, particularly Jey Uso's challenge for the Universal Championship and Nikki Cross's challenge for the SmackDown Women's Championship, look to be dead on arrival, to be completely honest. Let me know what you thought of this week's SmackDown in the comments down below. I've been Tom Colhue, thank you for bearing with me, and thank you as well for joining me.